Well, still no deal between the United Auto Workers Union and the big three American car companies, including Ford, and that has major implications for our community with 2 Ford plants in Louisville. The deadline just 3 days away now.
The UAW has vowed to strike at Ford, GM, and Chrysler parent Stellantis starting Friday unless each company agrees to its demands. Outside of Michigan, no area has more Ford workers than right here in Louisville, with some 12,000 between the 2 local plants.
So if it's not you, it's somebody you know, and with such big implications for our local economy, let's bring in our business reporter, Chris Otts. Chris, we're down to crunch time, 3 days. So what are the most important issues separating these two sides, the union and the company, in these negotiations?
Well, there's something like a dozen issues, but you know, the biggest ones, as they normally do, come down to money, and the union wanting to take a bigger share of this pie, make up for things that they've given up in the past. So let's break down a few. So cost of living increases. This is so huge for the union. Inflation has killed everybody in the last year or two, and they have really felt this benefit that they used to have, that they gave up back in the Great Recession. They also want to return to traditional pensions. That's probably maybe their biggest ask in this whole thing, and lots of analysts don't see that as a likely outcome, but it is possible. And then finally, they just want a really big wage increase, bigger than what the automakers have granted in the past. And the president of the union says that none of the companies are even close to what they want, but they are moving in that direction.
But I want to be clear about something else too. A 14.5% increase over 4 years is deeply inadequate. It doesn't make up for inflation. It doesn't make up for decades of falling wages, and it doesn't reflect the massive profits we've generated for this company.
So, Chris, we know these negotiations impact 3 car companies, but the big one here is Ford. So what are the chances that we are going to see Ford workers on the picket line on Friday?
So here's something unusual about what's going on now. In previous years, the UAW has picked one of these 3 companies, and they call that the target company, and they negotiate with that company. If they can't reach a deal, they strike that company. In 2019, that was General Motors. Now they've thrown that old playbook out the window. They're negotiating with all 3 car companies, and any one of them they could strike. They could strike them all. They could strike none. The conventional wisdom is that they have a better relationship with Ford and a worse relationship with Stellantis. But one expert I talked to earlier today said, in reality, all 3 have a long way to go.
So I think given the volume distance between the 3 parties, if you will, the 3 companies and the union, and also the amount of territory that they have to cover, it's a remote possibility that they'll come to an agreement with any one of them by the end of the day on September 14th.
I should say, guys, I also have sources in the negotiations, and they say that there is maybe a better than 50% chance that with Ford in particular that there will be a deal. But we won't know until Thursday night.
And that's the one that's going to have the greatest impact
for locally,
in our community.
Absolutely. We have the 2 Ford plants. We do have General Motors down in Bowling Green as well.
12,000 jobs at stake in Louisville. Will Ford workers walk the picket line later this week? All right, Chris, I know you're on top of it, and we can look for your latest article on WDRB.com.
That's right.
Thank you.